And so we're officially back on the clock. I think that, I take a couple of days after the 4th of July just to kind of saunter in. But now that we've hit, I think it's Monday. No, it's not even Monday. It's Wednesday. Like, of course, I should know this. This is how far behind I am. I'm just starting to get my bearings and everything. And we're starting to get, we're starting to do our season previews. The Bears are returning to training camp here in a couple of days. And really, right now is the time to focus in on fantasy football. So I thought for today, which feels like the unofficial start of the NFL season, I thought it would be apropos to talk a little fantasy. We're talking Bears. Like, don't click out and be like, they're not talking. No. We're going to talk about some Bears fantasy. We're going to have a good time tonight. One of my best friends is going to be here. So in any event, I'm not going to waste any other time. Sammy and Anello are stuck in a flood somewhere. So Shane, why don't we go ahead and start the show?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Adam Ray.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
The sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
It's Wednesday night. You know what that means? It is time for Take It to the Rank. And yes, I do know it's Wednesday, as I apparently just found out, which means there's a whole host of things going on a Wednesday night. Of course, the Tape Never Lies Network will be on in about an hour and a half. Draft Dr. Phil and Shane, the smartest man in the room, will be talking to Bears, all that stuff going on. AEW will be coming up here in just about under an hour. Important to note, Dr. Britt Baker and I will be teaming up on Saturday in Pittsburgh, which is I think it's Washington, Pennsylvania. We will be playing in the Cam Hayward Celebrity Classic. Celebrity being used loosely when it comes to me, but Britt Baker and I will be on the same squad this year for the defense. With defense, if you ever saw me play basketball in high school, you would not think that I would be on the defensive side of any ledger. But we'll be doing that on Saturday. I know Patrick's going to be out, not Patrick Claybon, Patrick Pusey is going to be out there, and a bunch of other people. I remember last year we had a great turnout, sold out, or the lower bowl is sold out. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, want to come out to the Cam Hayward Celebrity Classic, let me get rid of that spam call. Come out Saturday night. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll talk some Chicago Bears. We'll talk some fantasy. I was kind of hoping that either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields would be playing in that. But unfortunately, last year, say what you want about Kenny Pickett, he was there last year. As a matter of fact, robbed me of a single, maybe extra bases. Kenny Pickett's not going to be able to dispute this story. I might as well say he ruined a double. But in any event, come check that out. But listen, let's not waste too much time, because joining the show tonight is one of my best friends in the fantasy football industry, a man who drove me to be a better fantasy analyst, really taught me to reach down deep. And for as much fun as we had doing what we did, and everybody knows what I'm going to be talking about, as much fun as that was, and I know a couple of people were talking about this, like there's a lot of entertainment out there in the world of sports. We watch any of these shows, but one of the things that, despite our antics, is that we were really driven by the numbers, not look at the numbers, but driven by the numbers, really truly going out of our way to give you the best possible fantasy advice that we could in the most entertaining way possible. And now he's the co-owner of the Perception, and he has a brand new site debuting here shortly. It's going to be called the Sleeper King. Well, you'll be able to get all the best sleepers that will help you win your fantasy league this season. He was one half of the Danger Zone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the show, Mr. James Coe. James, what's going on?
Oh man, it's good to be back.
It is great to be here, or it's great to have you here. It's pretty remarkable to me that anytime either one of us mentions the Danger Zone, people loved the Danger. There's still a lot of people were responding to our social media post today, talking about how much they missed it.
Yeah.
How great it was for something that ended 5-6 years ago.
More than 5. I mean, I was with DirecTV for 5 years, right? So
geez,
it's like,
is that right?
And it's been a full year. after that. So yeah, it's been 6 seasons. We're going on 7 years now. 7
Unbelievable.
years since our last Danger Zone, which has been, it was an incredible ride, man. What a fun segment it was. And I will contend with anybody. It was the best fantasy football segment on TV in the history of TV. I don't care what anybody says.
No, very much so. And so much in like the producers were all aboard. And it was Alex Wilk, who was the producer of that.
Right.
The showrunner needed a little bit of convincing and wasn't quite sure. And he's like, what are you guys doing? And it was a taped segment too. This is back in the day when Fantasy Live was purely taped. And so, there's a lot of times like, what are we doing? He would come down. He was this guy. The guy who was the showrunner for the longest time and this is the weirdest thing, is like, he's the guy who discovered David Letterman. So you think that he would be into this kind of stuff, but he wasn't. Sure. He would show up, cigar, and it's like, dude, we're in California and it's the 2000s. You should not be having a cigar in your mouth, lit or not. And he would go, what are you guys doing here? Like, explain to me what the whole thing is. Like, what's the look at the numbers gag? I'm not getting it. And we're like, you know what? It's a very inside joke that probably reaches 4 people. But it was very important to us. And I think that anybody, and I would say too, like, you have a similar type of disposition of kind of Letterman-esque, of like, it's esoteric in a way, but also like, it really was good. Like, we made a fantasy, like a fraternity composite one year of the danger. Cause like so much, like every week, like that guy hit. The year that you did, what was it, Tyler Croft, and it was a drawing, like a stick drawing.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Well, yeah, because we were going so deep ranked that some of these guys didn't have any video on them at all, right? So it's like, I remember I wanted to do Tyler Croft that one year, and they're like, dude, bro, you can't do Tyler Croft. We don't have video of Tyler Croft. And I was like, oh, really? Bet. All right, cool. So I go to my Microsoft Draw,
right,
whatever it is. And I make some stick figures in about 5 minutes. We animate, there was like a stick figure with like some red wavy hair. It was Andy Dalton to Tyler Croft. But yeah, no, that was one of the most, and again, it's like, that's pretty out there, for network TV, the producer's like, man, I don't know. I was like,
well, you got to remember too, to pull back the curtain a little bit too. A lot of Fantasy Live is you're kind of boxed in of who they have video for. Like, can I talk about this guy? Like, we don't have video. Like, it doesn't matter. It's a fantasy show, and I want to talk about a player who will be good. Can I be on screen for 30 seconds? I don't know. I don't know. That the network doesn't like your faces. So it was really difficult. Like, if you ever want to be, so a lot of it was driven. So the fact that you did that, that was incredible. I thought too, I brought it up because of what happened with the NFL Network this week, with some of the shows that might or might not still be around. I was on a podcast with Dr. Kevin Murray, who, by the way, I wish I would have realized this while I was doing it. I realized that while I was doing after the fact, doing his podcast, and then realizing that I had the guy muted. So I'm doing this guy. I had him muted. It's fine. I'm pretty sure I know why, because he's a Mariners fan. So this makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're a Mariners fan, it's usually an instant. Like,
you were on his show. Wait, I'm so confused, bro.
I was on a guy's show. He's like, hey, because he emailed me.
You had him muted. You had him muted on Twitter.
I did, yeah. I wish, and I would have told him too. I will see him at the Scott Fish Bowl in a couple of weeks. Okay. And then I go to to help promote. I'm like, oh, I have this guy muted. I'm like, why? And it's like Seattle, Washington, Mariners fan. You're like, okay, I think I understand why. He was probably pro Jesse Winkler, and I had to do it. But we talked about the end of the Danger Zone at which is one of the most, and I want to give you all the credit in the world, is like one of the most like listen, like, you're leaving a network, and then it's my bright idea, like, hey, I got a heel turn though on you, like the proper like as they would do in wrestling. Like, if somebody's going to WCW, like, you've got to job out your way out the door. 100%. Yep. And similarly, if unfortunately, and they're coming for all of us. So at some point it's going to happen to me. And I'll be like, listen, I want Kyle Brandt to put me through a table. Like
right, totally.
even if your life is changing, I think that we're both so committed to show business. You're like, yep. I will let Kyle Brandt potato me even. I will let him potato me. I will not let him know. And I will blade up. So he doesn't know that I'm going to be wearing a crimson. Yeah, I would do it all. I would be like, if this was like, hey, like this is going to be your last show. I'd be like, okay, that's great. You know what? No hard feelings. Hey, Kyle, you got to put me through a table. Like, I'm sorry. Sure. We've established this at some point. It was really one of the saddest things I ever had to do, but one of the most like, no, this is kind of like way to put a friend over on his way out the door. So I appreciate you.
First of all, what Rank is referring to, you're talking about as if everyone knows. It's like
everybody knows. People still talk about it. People still bring it up. Everybody knows.
Even on TV. It wasn't even on TV. It was on Twitter only. We only put it on Twitter because they wouldn't let us do it on TV. You know, that's what's crazy. Do you remember? No, because remember that last year, they didn't even let us do Danger Zone that last year. We had to shoot that in the closet. Remember we were doing all these social media hits? We were shooting in a literal dumpster. We were in we were like in the back alleys. We were like, we were with like drug dealers in the back alley shooting Danger Zone. We were in the janitor's closet, bro.
Yeah.
That's what was crazy about it. So then
I forgot about that part of it.
So then we shoot the very last one we're ever going to shoot. We got the baking sheet pan. Mm-hmm. I took a nice dome shot. You gave me a great dome shot right off the dome. Cake flying everywhere.
Yeah.
I took a pretty solid bump right there, so that wasn't bad. Good. I was pretty proud of the bump that I took because again we're talking about we're not professionals out here, but I took the cake sheet to the dome. That was pretty nice, and then you followed it up with some real heavy shots. To the lower back. And
it's mostly it's still a comedy spot, so I'm sort of like swatting your behind. Just because it's still comedy, It's like we're not professional wrestlers,
right? Exactly.
Just to lean into that a little bit, just like, hey, like you're a bad boy, like what? Okay, so go and again, this would have been fine to so go search that video is still circulating out there. We got to go retweet it. But talk to me a little bit now. We've had Matt Harmon on talking about reception perception. We've had you on before, but you got a new site coming out. Can you explain a little bit what you got going on?
It is live.
It is live now. Awesome.
Yes, it is up and running, which is great.
I've seen the beta, but I didn't know that it was live.
Yeah. No, it's live, man. We got rankings and projections up there. It's the website's called sleeperkingfootball.com. I have the unofficial crown of the Sleeper King. I thought I'd just lean into that, man. And for me, it's like, look, I'm not going to start a fantasy football website and try to battle the big boys here with data. Okay, don't get me wrong. My projections are going to be on point. And the projections I have on the site, I think are really interesting because I don't think anywhere else you're going to find low, medium, and high projections for every single player, every single offensive player in the NFL. But that's what you're going to get with my site. So we're going to have, again, over 300 players, more than, golly, I think I've got 170 wide receivers ranked up there and probably another 100 running backs, right? So quarterbacks and tight ends are going to be coming up soon. So we're going to have more than 300 player projections across the NFL. And for every single player, you've got a low side projection, a medium projection, and a high side projection. So it really gives you an idea of the range of values for some of these guys. And again, if you're anything like me or Rank, maybe you like to see what a guy's upside looks like, right? So I've got projections built in for some upside as well. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. And so, I'm going to be, again, you could find the running back and wide receiver projections on the site right now. Those are live and good to go. And of course, I'm going to be adding a bunch of articles in there as well. Rank, I think the biggest thing for me for this particular site is I really wanted to personalize fantasy football coverage, right? So you're going to get weekly start-sit streams for members only, right? You're going to be able to DM me on a private burner account, right? Where those messages are going to get priority billing, right? So, and I have options on there too, where Again, they're pricey, but it's okay. I value my time, right? Where we can do a weekly fantasy football strategy session, right? So 10 minutes each and every week where we talk about, we're going to break down, starts and sits. We're going to break down waiver wire. We're going to break down trades, whatever you want to get done. And then hell, there's at the tip top of the stratosphere here, we can draft a team together. We can draft a team and co-manage and do all those things, man. We could get crazy with it. So I really want to personalize fantasy football and kind of go about it that way.
I love that whole thing. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be looking at my phone. I got a note from Sammy, who's in the flood, who's like, you didn't retweet it. I didn't retweet this show for Twitter. So I got to make sure I get this going right now. This is how I'm still in vacation mode, I think, even though this is the start of it. But it really is a great resource. And so for me, I think, there are people whose I feel like you get a sense of who people are. And now that we've worked with some people who are more like traditional, like they're going to be even keel. They're not going to look at, they want to play the middle. Mm-hmm. You and I like to play the high side, and we're going to take some risks. And so if you're somebody who is like, you know what, I just want to know, like, I want to swing. Like I've got my guy, I've got Tyreek Hill. So I know that I'm getting a baseline of 20 points. Give me somebody that can hit. And I think that's a very real part of fantasy is like, like you can take, like, and not to knock Tyler Boyd, but there's like certain guys where you're like, yeah, this guy's going to be fine. Like I need 9 points this week. And you're like, from my wide receiver 3 needs to give me 9 points. I'm never in that situation. I'm like, I need my wide receiver 3 to give me 20 because I'm going for it.
Who's the rando guy that's going to give you 20,
But those are the guys that you seem to find more often than not, and why you got the name the Sleeper King. And it's one of the things that, there's people who are known for certain things. Matt Harmon is known for wide receivers and everything like that. But when it comes to sleepers, I don't think there's anybody who could match your record when it comes to this. And so right now, though, I would like to take this opportunity while I have you here. This is a Bears show, so I do want to get through some Bears questions. And I do kind of want to run through, before we get to this, we'll get some sleepers. I have some other questions for you fantasy-wise I want to get into. But let's talk a little bit about Bears fantasy. I know you got the receivers and the running backs locked and loaded right now, but I want to ask you about Caleb Williams, because when I'm looking at my quarterback rankings, I look at Caleb Williams as a guy that, given everything that's going on, like I'm not drafting him as a quarterback 1, but when you get to like quarterback 13, I'm having a hard time moving Caleb out of the quarterback 13 spot.
I don't hate it. And again, when we're starting to talk about some of these big guys, I'll tell you this, man, I'm confused. We are so high on Anthony Richardson. We've seen nothing of Anthony Richardson. Nothing of true. Anthony Richardson. And he carries with him such a high injury risk. This is a player that has not been able to stay healthy, going not just back to his professional days, not just back to his collegiate days, but going all the way back to high school. This is a guy that struggled to stay healthy, right? So realistically, asking Anthony Richardson to give you 15, 16 games seems pretty unrealistic at this point in his career, right? And yet, despite that, people are so optimistic about Anthony Richardson. They've got him ahead of guys like Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott. And for me, like, I get it. The rushing upside is certainly there. Yeah. But you got to build in some of that injury risk. So for me, it's like, and I bring up Anthony Richardson because people are so
because I said it. Yeah, I'm with it. Is it weird though with Anthony Richardson? Hear me out on this. When it comes to Anthony Richardson, I like him in a league where you play one quarterback because you can draft like Matthew Stafford or somebody safer, Jared Goff. Totally. That like when he does get hurt, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to play golf for a couple of weeks. When it comes to Superflex, and I've got the 1.01 in my Scott Fishbowl Superflex league, which means Superflex, for anybody who doesn't know, means you basically start 2 quarterbacks. Right. I don't like Anthony Richardson in a Superflex situation because when he gets hurt, you're like, great, I'm starting Aiden O'Connell.
Oh God.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard because then you have to draft so many quarterbacks. Yeah. Because when it's in a 1 quarterback league, you're like, well, I'm just going to take Stafford. People are waiting on quarterbacks. But when it's a super flex, you're like, God, I've got to invest in so many quarterbacks. I don't like Anthony Richardson in that space.
But again, the reason I bring him up is because Anthony Richardson, if you look at Fantasy Pros, is the quarterback 6 right now. Like, that's how high people view Anthony Richardson, which is, again, I don't hate it. I'm just saying. Yeah. But when you compare that with somebody like Caleb Williams, right, who is the quarterback 17, there's just a disparity in price right there. You know what I'm saying? Caleb Williams can get out and scoot. He can run. He's going to be able to run the ball. And this is truly, honestly, one of the best situations we've ever seen for a number 1 overall quarterback, right? He's got 3 receivers that can just straight up ball, right? He's got running backs that can play. He's got a tight end that can play. Maybe O-line's a concern, but, I mean, just from a skill position standpoint, Caleb Williams is set to succeed, and he runs. He runs. Like, this is what I don't understand about the pricing for Caleb Williams.
You know, it's later on this week, we're going to have Pro Football Focus's Sam Monson on the show. In a recent article, he wrote about Braxton Jones, saying, like, this was a guy who far exceeded his draft position. He was a 5th-round pick. He's been a starter for the Bears for 2 years. He was good as a rookie, but didn't seem to get better his second year, and a lot of it was because Justin Fields held onto the football for way too long and kind of brought himself into sacks. So Braxton Jones could be a lot better. Tevin Jenkins will be a lot better. We're going to be talking to him later this week, talking about the Bears' offensive line. So that'll be interesting to kind of, as you watch both shows, you'll be like, oh, okay. Because and I'm with you. I love Caleb Williams. And you mentioned Jordan Love there.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. And listen, this is a Bears show, and I think a lot of us, and I'll throw Jaquan Brisker in here with me, are like not 100% sold on Jordan Love, because Jordan Love struggled. Like, I went back through and was like looking through memes. I was like, oh my God, like midway through the season, we were making fun of the Packers. And then he goes on a 3-game stretch where you're like, okay, he played pretty well. And maybe he's okay. And then he gets to the playoffs and you're like, oh, he choked again. Just like every other Packers quarterback.
God,
I don't know. I don't want to be a hater, but at the same time, I feel like you could reasonably say, like, I'm not sold on Jordan Love. I need to see a little bit more.
I just think it's funny, right, with Jordan Love that and maybe this is just true of all Green Bay quarterbacks, but it's just the swings of public sentiment on some of these quarterbacks is just so outrageous, you know. Jordan Love in the first 5-6 games of the season. Oh, well, maybe they got a bust. They're going to have to look at quarterback in this upcoming season because Jordan Love's not it. He's not ready. He's been sitting back here forever and he's still not ready. Then the last 11 games, the guy just goes absolutely bonkers, right? He just is gangbusters. But I'm kind of sort of with you. I'm sort of more in the middle for Jordan Love. I think, people ask me before, oh, is Jordan Love for reals? When you ask me, is he for reals? What are we saying? Are you saying is he really a top 5 quarterback? No, that's not where he's at right now. Right. Is he a top 12 quarterback? Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Right. I think that's reasonable. I think you could say to yourself, he's an above average quarterback. And I know there's going to be some, stat knuckleheads out there. Did you see what he did the last 11? Yes, I saw what he did. But you also have to understand, in 8 of those 11 games, he saw really bad defenses, really, in particular, bad pass defense. As a matter of fact, in 8 of those 11 games, 8 of those teams were in the bottom 12 of pass defenses at the time.
Right? Oh, interesting. I've never heard this.
We're talking about Detroit, horrible. Chargers, horrible. Tampa Bay, horrible. So yeah, he put up some huge numbers against some really bad or, below average pass defenses. So I don't know. I think the jury's still out on Jordan Love. I mean, there was certainly a lot to like, but to say that he has all of a sudden entered the conversation of like a top 8 quarterback in this league, that's a bit much for me.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too. One of the good defenses that he played at the end of the season, obviously in Week 18, was the Chicago Bears without Jalen Johnson. And even then, the Packers scored 17 points. And Jordan Love had a critical turnover late in the game that should have cost them, but Justin Fields couldn't, make that happen, unfortunately. And so they lost, which, it is what it is. We lose every year. But Matt LaFleur's there, and he's the best coach in the league, apparently, right? So as long as Matt LaFleur's there, they're good.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills when we talk about Matt LaFleur because this guy's bulletproof, man. He's Teflon. Like nothing sticks to Matt LaFleur, right? Like it's crazy when I'll just bring it back to Jordan Love. When Jordan Love was struggling, it's not because Matt LaFleur. Oh no, it's just Jordan Love's a bust, right? But when he does well, it's Matt LaFleur's got him in a position to succeed. And it's like, wait, hold on, this is the same Matt LaFleur who left LA and LA got better. This is the same Matt LaFleur who left Tennessee and Tennessee got better. This is the same guy that we're talking about with Matt LaFleur. And again, if you want me to bring up receipts, I got receipts, okay? In 2017, Matt LaFleur was the OC in Los Angeles, all right? They averaged 29.9 points a game. It was really good. As a matter of fact, 29.9 points, best in the league. But you know what? He leaves, and they have more yards, and they score more points. They go from 29 points a game to 32 points per game. They have 1,000 more total yards after Matt LaFleur leaves. He goes to Tennessee. He becomes the OC in Tennessee. Right. He has the bright idea, Adam Rank.
Yeah.
He's looking at the roster and he says, I got Derrick Henry and I got Dion Lewis. I'm going to give Derrick Henry 230 total touches. I'm going to give Dion Lewis 215 total touches.
Interesting.
230 to 215. Okay. I mean, sure. I mean, we're talking about a guy that can run for 2,000 yards, but sure, let's limit his touches. Okay, fine. Listen, Tennessee, the very next year with the very same roster, they go and they score more points. They have more yards again. Right. So they go from, again.
It was Arthur Smith, by the way, was the offensive coordinator.
It's with Arthur Smith. It's with Arthur Smith. Right. And they scored nearly 6 points more per game. Right. And again, almost 1,000 more yards of offense as well. So he somehow fails forward and gets the coaching gig with Green Bay. And yeah, they do well. And yes, Aaron Rodgers has a little bit of a renaissance. And yes, he's the 2-time MVP while Matt LaFleur is there. But how much of that is LaFleur and how much of that is just a pissed off Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. I don't know how to parse out the credit. But to say that LaFleur is for sure locked and loaded, this great coach or even a good coach in the NFL, I'm not there, bro. Brother, you and I have seen a lot of football. Yeah. You can't tell me you're watching Green Bay's offense and saying to yourself, you know what? This is some innovative shit right here. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It is borderline Mike McCarthy, old school 90s, West Coast style off. I don't see any innovation in the Green Bay offense. I don't see any kind of like, oh my God, he really schemed that guy up. No, I don't see that. You and I have watched a lot of football. I don't see that when I'm watching Green Bay's offense.
He's Adam Gase with better eyebrows. He's really just sitting there like, hey, he walked into a great situation. It's not like he took over a terrible team and like, oh, this team became good all of a sudden. Like Zach Taylor, and I know Zach Taylor gets the benefit of having Joe Burrow, but at the same time, if you look at what Cincinnati did last year with Jacob Browning, like you could reason like, I think their system's pretty good. I think Zach Taylor knows what he's doing. And he took over a team that's not traditionally one of the best in the NFL, has taken them to a Super Bowl, has taken them to 2 out of the last 3 AFC championship games. That guy never gets credit. And yet Matt LaFleur and his little threaded eyebrows, everybody thinks he's the best. Like, oh, Jordan Love is a Hall of Famer already. You're like, what? Like, what is happening? And and it's interesting too because they signed Josh Jacobs, and everybody's going crazy for Josh Jacobs this season. Like, oh, I gotta have Josh Jacobs. I'm like, why? Why would you think like, oh, this is the guy that you want? I'm like, you know what? And I know Aaron Jones, battled some injuries during his career, but like they never used Aaron Jones correctly. They never unlocked AJ Dillon. Like, what makes you believe that Josh Jacobs is going to go to the coach that buried Derrick Henry? It's like if a wrestler joining a federation, it's like when, it's like, hey, he traditionally buries his running backs, but this guy is going to be the guy who breaks through. Like, I'm not buying it. Like, I'm just not into it. I'm selling. And I know that it's just one of those things, too, where it's like, I know that I've said this. Be like, well, now I'm buying Josh Jacobs. Like, buy him. Like, go ahead. Be my guest. Because we have enough years of history to where we can be like, this isn't going to work out the way that you think it's going to be. But I want to go back to the I love, by the way.
Real quick though. Okay. Again, this goes back to his, just his bulletproof nature, his Teflon nature. Yeah. We absolutely flamed Mike McCarthy for not giving Aaron Jones more opportunities and more touches.
Yeah.
LaFleur comes in and does the exact same thing, and there's crickets. No one said a damn thing about Matt LaFleur not giving Aaron Jones the opportunity. And as a matter of fact, it was the opposite of like, well, he's the coach. He's in the room. He must see something. No, dog. No. If we say, hey, bring that same energy. If you're flaming Mike McCarthy, if you're skewering him, don't sit there and say nothing when Matt LaFleur does the exact same damn thing, right? I don't want to hear it. Like, and again, he has this history. He did that with Derrick Henry. He did that with Aaron Jones. If you think that Josh Jacobs is going to go, by the way, they draft Marshawn Lloyd, right? Like, he's already telling you they're not going to give Josh Jacobs a featured role. They're already telling you that. So no, anyways, that it is what it is in Green Bay. I'm not buying Josh Jacobs as a premier back, especially in fantasy football.
What about DeAndre Swift, though? He comes to the Chicago Bears, and I truly believe last season, he was going to – I really thought he was going to get more opportunity in Philadelphia, to the point of, like, I was sort of fading Jalen Hurts. I had him as a tier 2 quarterback because I reasoned you're not going to run them – he's not going to get 15 rushing touchdowns. Oh, wait, he is? Okay, great. You're gonna wear – I'm like, if you do that, you're going to wear him out, and you're not going to win a playoff game. That part of it came true.
Right.
DeAndre Swift comes to Chicago. I know he's got Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson to deal with.
Yeah.
Could DeAndre Swift, though, be a low-key, like, great running back in fantasy this year?
I'm a little, to be honest with you, Matt, or to be honest with you, Rank, I'm just confused by what Chicago did here. And it's absolutely nothing against DeAndre Swift. Nothing against him. I think he's a good player. Right. But the fact of the matter is, they had D'Onta Foreman in the building. D'Onta Foreman knows the offense. He knows this, or he knows the system. He knows these guys, right? He knows his guys, right?
Yeah.
And for me, D'Onta Foreman completely outperformed his contract. I thought he deserved a new contract from Chicago. He goes and signs with Cleveland for way less money, right? And they give DeAndre Swift a pretty sizable, chunky contract, right? So for me, I think that DeAndre Swift is certainly a better running back than D'Onta Foreman. I'm not going to go crazy and say that he's not.
Yeah.
I just think for the prices that you've paid for both backs, I just was very surprised that Chicago decided to go and do that. And again, as you mentioned, they've got Khalil Herbert. They've got Roshan Johnson. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't have been surprised, and I thought it would have been a smarter move, honestly, to not even address running back by bringing in DeAndre Swift, because I like Khalil Herbert. I like Roshan Johnson. I just thought that D'Onta Foreman, in terms of a guy that is a professional running back, can get you a good pass block when you need it, can get you 4 yards when you need it. That's that guy to me, a professional running back. And if you give him 20 plus carries, I promise you he's busting one for 20, right? So I just was a little bit surprised. You talk about DeAndre Swift being, a little bit of a, undervalued. Look, I've got him projected for 830 yards. I think that's fine. I think that's fair. I just also think that Khalil Herbert's going to get work. And then Roshan Johnson's going to get work as a passing down back too. So if Swift can become an every down option for them, then sky's the limit. For a high side projection, I've got him for 1045. I think that I'm probably leaning more toward the high side projection for DeAndre Swift than the medium projection. But you do have to keep in mind they've got 3 running backs on that roster that can play.
And speaking of trio, the wide receiver room in Chicago might be the best in the NFL. Which guy are we favoring? Who are we favoring in this one? Obviously, DJ Moore was incredible last year with Justin Fields, but you bring in Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze. How does this wide receiver room shake out?
What I really like about this room too is the fact that these guys have, I think, skill sets that will allow them to move around the football field and really create havoc in terms of matchups, right? DJ Moore, I think, can play X flanker slot. Keenan Allen can play flanker slot, right? Rome Odunze is your classic X, but man, if you ask him to kick and play flanker, I think he can do that. I think his reception perception profile too does show that he's got some chops to be able to free and break loose as a slot receiver too. So the flexibility by which these three guys gives you, I think, is such a such an X's and O's strategic advantage. That's what I really like about this room. I wouldn't put them right there with Houston, right? Houston's got three guys that I think is probably at the very tippy top of this of the league. But they're right. But Chicago's right there, man. Chicago is absolutely right there. I love Rome Odunze. You're a Pac-12 guy. I'm a Pac-12 guy. We saw a lot of Rome Odunze. Odunze can play, man. He's an absolute baller. Okay. Early on, I would not be surprised, though, to see old man Keenan Allen leading the way in terms of receptions and just being that reliable, short, intermediate, target earner for Caleb Williams, I think, early on. Odunze's certainly going to be there. He's certainly going to make splash plays. But if we're talking about just straight up, medium projections, it's got to be DJ Moore, right? He's still in his prime. He's a great player. And again, I talk about that positional versatility, being able to play X flanker and slot. I think that's going to serve him really well. I think that's when he's at his best, Rank, is the fact, don't just stick him on the outside. Obviously, don't stick him on the inside, but let him move around that formation and just wreak havoc, man. I think DJ Moore, easy 1,200 yards. I've got him projected for 1,203. On the high side, though, bro, this might surprise some people, but I think he has 1,600 yard potential.
Wow.
I really do for DJ Moore. That's his high side projection for me, 1,628 for DJ Moore. If everything goes right and everything clicks, Caleb Williams is an absolute stud. DJ Moore can crack 1,500 yards. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
I love that projection. I also truly believe Rome Odunze can be this player that a lot of people draft because they love him and they think he's good. It takes him a couple of weeks to get going, so he gets dropped. But he's one of the most added guys in fantasy as the season goes on. Totally. And then by the end of the year, ends up killing it for people because he starts to develop more chemistry with Caleb Williams.
I love that, and I totally agree with that, and I think that's a common story that we see among a lot of stud rookie wideouts. I mean, of course, obviously, most famously is Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah. But again, Odunze, I think totally right. He's going to be a splash play guy, field stretcher early on. Later in the season, though, that route running is going to be on full display. He's going to get acclimated to the speed of the NFL. And boy, I tell you, I bet you anything he's going to have some pretty nice matchups down the road too, right? Just given that division between Detroit and Minnesota, I think their secondary is certainly still a work in progress, and I'm not totally convinced about Green Bay either. So I think he'll have some really nice matchups, especially down the stretch. I love that idea of passing on Odunze in the draft, but keeping tabs on him in the season, and then popping in right when the time is right.
Yeah, he's going to be released at some point because he won't get going early. And like it always is, and people will just be like, I'm done with it. This isn't going to be any good. And then you grab him later in the draft. I truly feel that way. You mentioned the Texans receivers. I forget. Yeah, they do have a solid room as well.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of people are torn between Nico Collins and Tank Dell. I think we actually come out on opposite sides on this one. Okay. Who are you favoring and why?
Oh, I'm big on Nico. I think Nico is. I've liked Nico for a long time, but
for sure,
Rank, you know me. Look, I like these big hulking X receivers who win in contested catch. That's Nico Collins,
Yeah.
So I can't get away from that archetype of player.
That's your type. No. That's your type.
That's me. I like. That's my catnip, man. Like I can't get away from that. And so for me, and again, what Nico Collins showed from a reception perception profile, man, is just truly special. We're talking over 90th percentile versus man, over 90th percentile versus press coverage, great in contested catch like I talk about. But dude, he was awesome in the intermediate area too. Like the fact that he is, just as good of a dig route runner as like a Puka Nacua, I think that tells you a lot about the ceiling for Nico Collins.
Yeah, there's a lot. I do like it. I do know that last year too, though, he kind of took off a little bit when Tank Dell was not there.
True.
And Tank Dell was a guy, I remember, being able to work with Steve Smith a lot, last year heading into the draft. Like he loved Tank Dell. And he was like, this is the guy. And I remember, what was it? SMU he played, and going back and watching a lot of his games. Now, you and I like to do this where, people watch like rough cuts of players, or even I love just watching the game. Like if you're going to scout a college player, instead of being like, show me the highlights, like just show me his routes or anything like that, I feel like it's better to watch a game, so it puts more context into it. And when you saw Tank Dell play in games, you got a better perception. Like, oh yeah, I think this guy's going to be a player. But again, it's one of those instances where there's really no wrong answer. And so I think either one of those guys are good. I just kind of like Tank Dell. He was the guy that I put out there in my state of the franchise thing. So I'm going to have to wear that one. I know the haters will come back if it doesn't work out. But listen, we got a couple more minutes left. I do want to get a couple of sleepers for you. And I hope, listen, I'm going to put you on the spot right now too. I hope you will come back consistently and give us some sleepers. Okay. We'll talk about this later. But I do want to get some sleepers for you right now as people are getting ready for their drafts. I know a lot of people might be in the Scott Fish Bowl or anything like that, or doing drafts early. Who are some players you should be spotlighting heading into draft season?
Oh, man. Okay, so at running back, I'll throw out a fella by the name of Kamani Vidal. Okay, he plays for the Chargers, and I get it. People are saying he's the third-string running back. It's like
at the moment,
I don't buy that, brother. Okay, we're talking about a 5'8", 213-pound bowling ball, just is rolling downhill with knives, baby. Okay, this guy ran a 4.46 with a 37.5-inch vertical at that size. I mean, bro, just turn on some of this guy's Troy tape, and you will, if you like running backs, you will love Vidal, man. Like, I love this dude. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are quote-unquote ahead of him. Gus Edwards is 29 years old. I don't think he's got a play style that ages gracefully. And Dobbins, bro, like, I get it. He's 26,
we're not
dude.
doing this.
Yeah, come on.
We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
No, come on. We're not doing this with Dobbins, are we? Come on, brother. Like, he suffered a massive multi-ligament knee tear. He's got that dreaded Achilles tear as well. He's played 9 games total over the last 3 seasons, dude. There ain't no way Vidal is playing behind him. If Gus Edwards is the lead, Vidal's the RB2. I don't care. I do not care about J.K. Dobbins at all. So he is somebody that I absolutely need to get him in my draft.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Go ahead.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying I'm with you.
If we're going a little deeper in the draft, okay, and you're looking for a running back, this is where I shine. Like, this is where I live. I love to be right in the muck, okay? Jalen Wright in Miami is ESPN's RB59. Right, I have him as RB47, but if we're talking late in the draft, I like to grab this guy as a little bit of a flyer position, okay? Because this guy, are you kidding me, dude? 210 pounds. He ran a 4.39 40 with a 38-inch vertical.
Yeah,
bro, he's an unreal athlete. Okay, unreal athlete. I'm not saying he's a perfect prospect because he's not, but if we are drafting Devin Achane, where we are drafting him, what are we really saying? We are really saying
we love the upside of it.
We love the upside, and we're saying that 32-year-old Raheem Mostert is probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, I'm saying Mostert doesn't even make the opening day roster.
Okay, well, that's a step too far from me, but let's say he misses time. And again, I know he's been the model of health somehow, some way for the last 2 seasons, but he's 32 years old. He has a long injury history. Again, we're not sure. That's why Achane is going so high, right? But brother, Achane's 190 pounds, right? Tell me, I can make an easy case that if Mostert goes down, that Jalen Wright actually ends up being the number 1 in this offense. Okay, so I'm just saying I'm not saying it's likely, but it's possible. And that is the kind of player that, my God, you want late in like the 14th, 15th round of your draft. Give me that guy, like a straight up league winner if it hits, is Jalen Wright. So he's the kind of deep sleeper that I really, really like.
I love it. I'm actually going to sneak that into my state of the franchise thing for tomorrow. And I'm going to give you no credit, of course, because that's how I roll.
No, that's fine. No,
but listen, don't give away anything else because I want everybody to go to sleeperking.com. It's sleeperking.com.
Sleeper King Football.
Sleeperkingfootball.com.
Yeah.
Sign up today. Listen, there's many different price points that you can jump into. And for me, I like supporting my friends. I didn't even take the comp. I did on reception perception, but not for you. Like I will take it. Listen, I will.
You're getting the comp, pal. You're on the site, dude.
I will put the money down. Put the money down. Do this.
No. You're on the site. Our guy Adam Rank was very generous. He gave me a recommendation. It's on this. It's featured on the site. You're on the freaking homepage, dude. You're getting a comp. You're getting a comp membership. Don't even worry about it. It's all good.
Well, listen, I want to do this again real soon, and you and I can talk about this offline, but I wanted to get you in today. By the way, because we've been doing our shows differently because we've been bringing on 2 guests, and I blew out Sam Monson, and I said, we're going to do Sam later in the week because I wanted to spend a lot of time with you. Yeah. But I want to bring you back, and I want to help out everybody win some fantasy football this season.
Let's do it.
We can talk about that a little bit more as it goes on, but I wanted to have you on. I'm proud of you. And I can't wait for this Sleeper King football to get started. And it's going to help a lot of people win a lot of fantasy games. So you do it. And that's all I got for you, brother.
You're the best, brother. You're the absolute best. And anytime you need a guest, for sure, 100%, I'm in. If you want to make this a regular thing, let's do it, man. Let's make this happen.
Listen, Sammy, I know Sammy's watching. Listen, that was it. That contract is binding, but we'll work out the details.
Sealed
but I do want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I know that a Bears football will be kicking off here in a couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed. For those of you who are watching, I think we got a lot of Danger Zone fans in too. But we'll be back. We'll be back to Danger Zone. We'll be talking some more Bears football later this week with Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus. But I want to thank James Coe so much. The site, once again, sleeperkingfootball.com. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy AEW Dynamite. And Shane, go ahead and play us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.